My name is Jeremy Devins, and this is the Yoga Teacher Training Podcast. And I want you to notice how I'm talking right now. And if I were teaching a class, I might say, inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, fold. Exhale, step back. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, fold. Do you notice how this feels to listen to, and to imagine how this feels to practice along with? Maybe you've experienced this before. Maybe you've been to a class where the teacher is breathing very heavily between the cues. Maybe you've been that teacher. No judgment. I've been that teacher before, especially when I was first starting out online. Teaching online, for some reason, when I first started, made me run out of breath more. So that's why today in this episode, I'm talking about 10 ways to improve your breathing while teaching. And this is one of the most crucial skills to have while teaching. And that's the last time I'll do that. But as you notice, when I do this, it has an impact on your nervous system. And especially if you're very sensitive, you're in a very receptive state, like in a yoga practice, you can feel these things a lot. So it's very important for you as a teacher to be very aware of your breath, and I'll talk about ways that you can do that and why it's so important. If you want to work with me more in depth, the next thing I'll be offering is the Decode Your Birth Chart workshop at quietmindastrology.com/101. You can sign up right now, and you can go there. There's an early registration discount. If you see it later, you can go join on the wait list for the next time. But quietmindastrology.com/101, this is the sister science of yoga and Ayurveda, is Jyotish, or Vedic astrology. It's very, very useful to better understand yourself and your strengths and weaknesses, and how to bring out your gifts and live in your purpose and improve all areas of life. So really cool stuff. Obviously, I'm a huge practitioner and teacher of this, so I love sharing this stuff. And if you want to add this to your repertoire as a teacher, this is a great skill to have and resource for you. quietmindastrology.com/101 to join in the next class. So why is it so essential to improve your breathing while teaching? Well, number one is regulation of the nervous system and the engagement of mirror neurons. So you may know this idea that when you are in front of a room as a teacher, people are entraining their nervous system to you, tuning to you. And the same way, if you put a room full of grandfather clocks together, tick tock, and they're all out of sync, eventually they'll all get into the same pattern. So there's this element of this. Or if you take two tuning forks, and if they're different frequencies and you hit one of them, the other one will not vibrate. But if they're the same frequencies, you hit one, the other one will vibrate. So there's an element to this, and as a yoga practitioner, as a teacher, that when we go into a room and hand our choice and our will over to the teacher, that we are trusting them, and for you as a teacher to be very intentional with that energy, and whatever state that you're in is going to affect the state that they're in. So effective breath control while teaching helps regulate your nervous system, maintaining a calm and composed demeanor, and this calmness is transmitted to the students through mirror neurons. And the research on this stuff is really amazing. Essentially, whoever you are around and the state that they're in is going to change your state, and vice versa. So those are brain cells that react not only to the personal actions, but to the observation of others' actions. So just seeing somebody in a certain state can change our state. And by observing your calm and controlled breathing, students' mirror neurons trigger similar responses in their brains, promoting a relaxed and focused state. This enhances the learning environment, making it more conducive to deep and introspective practice. And of course, if you are not in a calm state, if you're dysregulated, their mirror neurons are going to pick that up and take that in as well. So I've been to classes, and maybe you've been this person, maybe you've seen it. Somebody is rushing to class, they're late, they're stressed out, they had a busy day at their day job, and now they're coming to sit in front of a room and teach, and you can feel the intensity of their energy versus somebody who got to class an hour early and they were meditating and they're in a calm state. And now you can feel that calmness when they sit in front of the room. You're also modeling proper technique, of course. As a yoga instructor, you're a total role model for your students. Like whatever you're doing, they're looking to you to see how to learn how to do that as well, and picking up things consciously and unconsciously. So demonstrating proper breathing technique not only teaches them how to integrate breath with the movement, but also emphasizes the importance of breath in the practice. And that's essential for them to have the full benefits of yoga. It also helps you maintain your energy and focus and sustain your energy levels throughout the practice. When you're managing a class, observing students, providing adjustments, communicating through the class, keeping the sequence in your mind, keeping the awareness of all the students and their bodies and their needs in your awareness, that's a lot to hold and maintain. So if it's difficult just to breathe and regulate the flow of prana in your system, it's going to be hard to manage all of that. So you're more likely to get burned out, scattered, overwhelmed, all of this, and then that will detract from the quality of your teaching and the safety of the practice for the students. And then the fourth reason that's essential to improve your breathing while teaching is effective communication. So good breath control allows you to speak clearly and continuously without running out of breath. And that's crucial for delivering instructions and explanations and corrections throughout the class in a way that is easy for students to follow. Consistent and calm communication helps in creating a peaceful and effective learning environment, encouraging the students to remain engaged and attentive. And if you're running out of breath, you're not going to be able to say the things you want to say or add the nuance to the cues or the instruction that you want to have. So let's talk about now how you can improve this. So obviously it's very important, essential, one of the most crucial things to teaching. So one way you can improve your breathing while teaching is practicing pranayama practices before you teach. So any practice is good and almost guaranteed to improve your ability to breathe while teaching and improve the lung capacity you have. So you'll need less effort to your breath, right? The breath becomes more effortless when you practice pranayama. The Kaivalya Kumbhaka effect is what they talk about in the old texts, where the breath is just floating. Like you don't even need any effort at all. You don't even really need to breathe. Like you're just so light and clear from the breath. So just doing some sort of breath practice, nadi shodhana, anything, alternate nostril breathing, or just inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, slowly extending the ratio of the breath. So of course there's many practices, but just doing 3 minutes of any pranayama practice before teaching can have a huge impact on improving your breath. And then having this be a regular practice daily also will just have that effect all the time, where your breath is more steady. Before the class, taking a few minutes before to just set your tone, set your energy, get grounded, get centered before the students arrive can be really helpful, including doing breathing practices. Number 3, just slowing down your speaking pace and using pauses more effectively while you're teaching. This not only helps in controlling your breath, but also aids in clearer and more thoughtful communication. So if you feel like you're going fast and you have to go faster to keep up with the students, that's a good sign to slow down. And even if you think that you're going slow and you need to be a little faster, that's probably a sign that you actually need to be even slower, because there's no rush. Even if you're teaching a vinyasa class, there's no rush. Like you want to watch your students and make sure that they're keeping pace with the cues and everything. But if you're teaching vinyasa, it's just, you can slow down how much you're saying and just say inhale, step forward, exhale, forward fold. And if you're running out of breath, you feel like you're going too slow, you can encourage the students to breathe slower and teach in a way that allows them to move at that pace as well. Basically, if you're running out of breath, then you're teaching too fast. So slow down and you'll have more space to teach, and your students will feel more regulated as well, even if they are going slower than they might like. You can watch them and see, you'll see that they're able to keep up or not, and they'll probably be able to keep up just fine. You don't need to move super fast, even in a vinyasa class. But if it's just hatha or gentle or restorative, even more so, just slow way down. Number 4 is to integrate breathing with movement. So as you demonstrate poses, synchronize the breath with your movements, and this alignment can help maintain your rhythm and prevent breathlessness. Now, that is a little trickier with vinyasa, of course, because you got to speak and breathe, speak and breathe. So in that case, you might just step back. If you're running out of breath, just step back and don't demonstrate. It's during the vinyasa flowing sequences so you can catch your breath again. It's really more important than anything else that you catch your breath than anything you're teaching. So if you're like, oh, I want to keep the pace, I don't want to lose this, but I need to move fast and I'm running out of breath, just slow down, don't demonstrate, do whatever you need to get your breath back, because it is that important that you have a regulated breath and you're not breathing in a very emphasized, out of breath kind of way while you're teaching. Number 5 suggestion is you can use a microphone. So if available, if you're teaching a large group class, this can reduce the need to project your voice so much, which can help you breathe a little easier. And when you're projecting, you have to push more air through your lungs so you can run out of breath more easily. But if you're in a big room and you can use a mic, that can help with that. Number 6 suggestion is to just stay hydrated, of course. This helps ensure your vocal cords don't dry out, making it easier to speak without straining. Number 7 is teach breathing cues. So incorporate breathing cues into your instruction. That not only guides your students, but also keeps you mindful of your own breathing pattern, which again, you may just need to slow down with this. Number 8, focus on your posture. So maintaining good posture while teaching also creates more space for the lungs. Standing or sitting up straight can help open your diaphragm, allowing for deeper, more efficient breaths. Number 9 is to monitor your volume and tone. So being mindful of the volume and tone of your voice. Speaking too loudly or with too much intensity quickly leads to breath exhaustion. And then number 10, regular cardio exercise. So engaging in regular aerobic exercise outside of yoga, where you increase your heart rate and you start to run out of breath, helps to improve your overall stamina and lung capacity, which will help in maintaining breath control while teaching. And this is one of the biggest weaknesses that I see for a lot of teachers, and I've had myself as well. So if you just walk up a flight of stairs and you're out of breath, that's a good sign that you could use some more cardio in your life. Because in yoga practice, we don't do really any cardio. Even if you're doing a fast, vigorous vinyasa practice, that's not the same as like walking up a hill miles. It's going to bring you way more cardio effect, way more heart rate increase, and way more this need for lung capacity expansion and breath awareness and stamina increasing and endurance increasing. So having some sort of regular cardio practice is great. And I'll add an 11th thing, an extra thing, is if you've ever taken any sort of singing lessons, these are really great practice for breath control. And I've done a lot of singing lessons myself over the years. And you practice things like the bubble breath, where you just like bubble your lips, like, and it doesn't matter what tone you're making or pitch or anything, but that you're just pushing air steadily through your lungs in a consistent way. So if you push harder, then the bubbles become harder. Or if you push lighter, you lose the bubbles. So this is a great way to practice just a consistent airflow out of your lungs, and then breathing in, and then this long exhale. So that's a great thing to practice. And there's a lot of great vocal exercises on YouTube. It's for free. So those are worth checking out. You just someone playing a piano and you can just follow along with the pitches. This also helps as a bonus thing with your pitch as a teacher, which some of you might not have an issue with, but for me that was a big issue. I was very monotone and shy when I first started, and I had almost no range in my voice, where it was just one thing the whole time, which can be very meditative and droning in a way, in a good way, but also can be very droning in a bad way and kind of take you out of the practice. So having some range in your voice and breath control in your voice, singing lessons are great for that. And all you really need is just free YouTube videos with someone playing a piano and you follow along. And even better if you can find your vocal range and somebody stays in that range, that can be helpful too. So those are 10 ways to improve your breathing while teaching, which I think is one of the most crucial things that's kind of overlooked and not talked about a lot. But it's practicing pranayama, doing some preparation before class to regulate your state, slowing down while you're teaching, integrating the breath with the movement, using a microphone if you have a bigger class, staying hydrated, of course, mostly before and after the class, not so much during, teaching breathing cues in a way that helps guide the students to focus on their breath and gives you space to regulate your breath, having good posture so there's good space for the lungs, and awareness of your diaphragm, which also comes through singing lessons, where a lot of the air control can come through the diaphragm muscles, which is right below the lungs, and it can kind of control the organs moving and the lungs moving, so that you have more control of how long you can push air out and how steadily through the breath and through the voice. So the posture gives you space for the control of the diaphragm and the lungs. The ninth suggestion is just monitoring your volume and tone, not speaking too loudly or forcefully that makes you run out of breath. Number 10 is having regular cardio exercise to increase your lung capacity and heart rate and your overall stamina and endurance. So that when you're teaching, even if you're teaching a fast-paced vinyasa class, that's like a very small portion of your capacity. But if you're not doing regular cardio, just teaching a vinyasa class becomes a big portion of your capacity and you run out of breath. And then the 11th thing, singing lessons, especially the bubble breath, can help control your airflow. And I'll even add a 12th suggestion is just practice. Just practice. Like, especially when I started teaching online, and I started to feel it at the beginning because I was doing this with my breath, I lost the breath control online for whatever reason. Something about looking at a screen and not having people in front of me became a little unnatural. So my breath became unnatural, and I felt like I needed to talk more and faster. So just regular practice for me was what really changed that, and doing more Zoom meetings versus asynchronous recordings. Like when you're doing a Zoom meeting, your pace and your breathing becomes more natural. But if you're just recording stuff on your phone or your computer, the breath can become less natural because it can feel less natural to talk into a camera rather than talk to people. And that's normal. But just for me, the biggest thing with that was just practice and getting more relaxed in my nervous system in front of a camera. Even with all the other techniques, there is something different about the digital space. So that can just take practice and repetition, and it becomes more natural. So hopefully you found this helpful today and can improve your breathing while teaching, even if you've already been pretty solid, maybe got some new perspective on things. And if you want new perspective on everything in your life, that's what I'll be doing at the Decode Your Birth Chart workshop, Vedic Astrology 101. quietmindastrology.com/101 is where you can sign up right now at the early bird registration rate. And we'll be looking at your birth chart. So you'll get your birth chart. We'll look at your planets, signs, houses, nakshatras, how to interpret that for yourself, how to plan for upcoming transits and events and things coming up that I talk about every week on the Quiet Mind Astrology podcast. And this is the sister science to yoga and Ayurveda. So if you do enough yoga, eventually you're going to want to look into Vedic astrology like I did, I think. I think it's a similar region in the astrology chart of like, if you're into deeper yoga practice, you're probably going to get into Ayurveda, probably going to get into Jyotish, probably some other like deeper teachings like this. So this is the great starting point to do that and a great introduction to really get to know yourself and your chart. So quietmindastrology.com/101. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, share it with a friend, leave a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. And I look forward to sharing more with you next time on the Quiet Mind Yoga Teacher Training Podcast.